Happy Spiritual Sunday. We're broadcasting not from the center, as you can tell, but broadcasting actually from my dining room. Where are you in the world? Gathering all four corners of the world, because we know, it's funny I say it that way, the Kabbalists explain that the first human being, if you have taken any of the classes or you've been around for a while, you understand that that first being was the combination of the soul from the endless world and the body from this world. And it says that the body of that first being, before it was split into Adam and Eve, and therefore continued to split to the 8 billion of us, was essentially from all the four corners of the world. And so, everything that we teach here in the center, as most of you are familiar with, is how to bring unity to people from all those four corners of the world. Because there is only one soul. There, on a spirit, or let's call it on a metaphysical level, there is only one body, one soul, one body. We just have the illusion, maybe delusion, that it's 8 billion separate beings. It's almost like if you take your hand and you split your fingers, you say, oh, I have 5 different fingers and they're not me. But once you kind of go to the arm and you see the arm is connected to you, you see it's really all part of your one body. And so too, every human being on earth is part of, from each of our point of view, one body of humanity, my body. And this is why everything we do is how to bring unity and peace and harmony between all 8 billion people. Yeah, we have a very interesting topic today. I think some of you may have seen it in the Facebook page, but let's just get started and get into it. So as we always do, we're going to start with our affirmation. And the reason for the affirmation is not just a wish or a hope, but you and I understand that it's really reminding us. It's really about reminding us who we are, what we're doing here. Over millennium, we collectively have forgot in various levels what our mission is, why we came out of the endless world, what we're doing in this world, why are there different people, 8 billion bodies of different colors, races, cultures, whatever. We forgot. And so Kabbalah is not teaching us anything new. The Kabbalah Center, as we often emphasize, because of the lineage, literally the connection, one piece to the next, meaning today you have Michael and Monica Berg, who are connected to the Rav in Karenberg. The Rav had a teacher, Rav Brandwein, Rav Ashlag, the really only man in history to completely translate the Zohar and explain it with commentary. From the Aramaic to the Hebrew, who had a teacher, and a teacher go back to the author of the Zohar itself. So what the center is teaching us is reminding us, it's reawakening what we already know. And so even this affirmation is not about sort of planting a new idea or thinking in a new way. It's really reminding us. It's sort of reawakening the memory of why we came into this world. So let's say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Okay, so let's start right in. I've heard over all the years, and maybe some of us have actually said at some point in our life, said this phrase, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. So, meaning most people see that there's a difference between the two. And for whatever reason, as you and I or other people have said that phrase, meaning they are distancing themselves for whatever reason, in their perspective and perhaps in their experience, religion didn't do it for them, and they still want something metaphysical, so they'll say, okay, so they want to do spirituality, not religion. So today, what you and I want to understand is, what's the distinction? Is there really a difference? And if so, what is it? So we start with a simple idea. Religion usually, and again, if you have a somewhat different understanding, great and wonderful, but I want us to be on the same page so we get the same inspiration, revelation, and therefore transformation of our life for more good, for better today. So religion, generally thought of, is a set of rules that people believe were given by God to them. Okay, simple. And so they have to follow it. And even as we often talk about, the Kabbalists do believe that the 5 books of Moses is also true literally, but for sure never limit your understanding to that literal story. So, most people follow the rules that they believe their God gave them, or be punished. And if they do what their God said, then be blessed. And then there's spirituality, which usually connotes, somehow connecting to one spirit, the universe, the creator, the first cause, the thing itself, whatever other frame you might call it. But it's, I think I looked it up last night, some reference to one spirit. Now, let's start with some of the understanding. Religion, meaning there's a set of rules that one follows, quote, or else, doesn't have to be that concept, let's call it religiosity, doesn't just have to be in a place of worship. How many of us have various habits or rituals, we might call it, that virtually are immutable? People get up in the morning and they have their ritual. They must get out of bed, maybe make their bed, go to the bathroom, wash their face, use the toilet, brush their teeth, get dressed, make the coffee, have the breakfast, read the paper or watch something online, and then go to work. And every day it's the same thing. Or they're religious about the way they drive to work, maybe what they wear or how they dress, what coffee, drink they have every day. There's ways that we, without thinking consciously about it, are also religious, meaning almost inflexible. This is the way it's done from our point of view, and that's that. The other part is you have the spirituality. So people don't want to believe they're following in a for almost inflexible way some ritual. And again, usually going back to the typical religions, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, what have you. So spiritual people want to just feel like they're connecting to the universe and they're, being infused with power of the universe and feeling connected to that creator, however they envision it, etc. And everybody can kind of do it the way they feel to do it. Okay? Now, some of you may not agree with what I'm about to share with you. Some of you, it might start pushing some of your buttons. Some of you might have like a visceral repulsion to it almost. But I truly believe your soul already knows this truth. So, as with everything we teach in the center, I'm asking you not to just blindly believe what I'm about to tell you. And I also, at the same time, ask you, don't just dismiss it because it doesn't feel good to you. It doesn't fit your paradigm of life. It's not the way you've operated up to this point. You and I are here in the Kabbalah Center in this spiritual Sunday to be open-minded, to learn new things, to see life in a new way, because like the old saying goes, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results, that's stupidity. You have to be a different person, do things in a different way to have different results. We've also come to understand that sometimes, because of that opponent energy that we have, and if you're new to this, I encourage you, go to Kabbalah.com, look up what the opponent is, even look up adversary, look up the opponent. Meanwhile, let's not scare you with what you might think the name is. But because of that opponent energy, we want to just dismiss it and run away from it. But that opponent has also made us over time think that we're doing things differently, but not impacting our lives nor the world around us any differently. Okay, let me just give you a quick example. You know, we all understand the idea of addiction. So there can be addiction, which is self-destructive to various substances. But on a spiritual level, a true spiritual level, any addiction, even if it looks good, people addicted to work. So they are called workaholic, not hard worker, workaholic, or the people addicted to the gym. Again, almost like we're talking religiosity. They have to go every day or 3 times a week. They follow the same pattern. They have a pattern of doing it, and that's it, and nothing flexible about it. So you say, well, you know, being addicted to the gym, or let's say this person going 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week is not destructive like we might see drugs, alcohol, things like that. But you and I are understanding that there's a universe beyond our 5 senses, which is really the source of everything. And so how we impact that, what we call in Kabbalah, the 99%, that spiritual universe, is what our life is about, what we experience in life. So if a person's just exchanging one addiction for another, that doesn't mean that it's better for them. So what the Kabbalah Center is teaching us through the Zohar and the ancient Kabbalists is how to live a life that's efficient, do actions that are effective in truly making our lives raise up to a higher level of our creator or God-given potential. Okay, so I just ask you, be open. The Kabbalistic point of view, as we just affirmed, consciousness is everything. And what that means is it's the consciousness given to us by Kabbalists, by the wisdom of Kabbalah, the Zohar. It's the consciousness of how to connect to the light of the Creator, the light that's inside our soul, to reveal it in this world. And as we often talk about, it's only light will take away darkness, physically or spiritually. So really, what we're here for, what the Zohar explains to us, is everything in the physical world is patterned on the spiritual world. So when we look at the physical patterns of things, we can start to get a sense of, if you will, a hint towards what goes on in the spiritual world. So in simplest terms, the Kabbalists teach us that when we see in the physical world, I mean, what's science about? Science is about teaching us the rules of the universe, how the physical material world work. And isn't it interesting that, you know, whatever, in the last century or so, we've gone from technology to high technology. meaning the scientists have uncovered more of the 14.5 billion year old physical laws of the universe. The Kabbalists have been giving us in the Zohar spiritual laws of the universe of eternity. And so the Kabbalists explain, if there is technology in the physical world, how your air conditioner works, how electricity runs, how gravity operates, all these various physical tools, our computer that we're using now has a system. The phonograph that we used to use has a system. If there are systems in the physical world, if you want to connect an electrical circuit to make your lamp work, you cannot use yarn as wiring. You can meditate all day that the yarn will conduct electricity. It will not, because the physical material laws were not set up that way. You have to use various types of metal that will conduct electrons that will make electricity flow, and then you can use the light, the lamp, the vacuum, whatever it may be. Even this computer runs on electrical circuitry. So if there is technology and systems in the physical world, there has to be also in the spiritual world. Has to be. The spiritual world cannot be without those laws. And so this is where the Kabbalists, what we learn is the spiritual technology to make life work well. We don't want burnout. We don't want chaos. We don't want discord. So using the spiritual technology of the soul, which is what Kabbalah is truly about, and the center's been teaching for just over 100 years now, the technology of the soul, and that's why it is for everybody, not just for a particular group, everybody, because everybody has that one soul inside of them. Now, let's start to understand a little bit how that evolved into religion and spirituality. So, as we say, consciousness is everything. And the consciousness meaning, like we just started, to be conscious that there is a system, to understand that as you use the system, the spiritual system, consciousness must be a part of that technology. In other words, even in very simple terms, we all have outlets on the walls in our house. You have to have a certain consciousness of what machine you want to work. Meaning, if you want your vacuum cleaner to work, you have the consciousness. Take the cord of the vacuum cleaner. There's a consciousness, an intention, if you will. Take the plug of the vacuum cleaner and connect it into the outlet. If you want your lamp to work, you have to have the consciousness. You don't just grab any plug that you might see and stick it in the wall and expect, the vacuum cleaner to work. It has to be the vacuum cleaner plug, or the lamp plug, or the computer charger plug. So there's, even in the physical world, there's that simple intention that's necessary to achieve the goal you want. Therefore, how much more when it comes to the spiritual? So using one's soul's energy without consciousness ultimately just results in chaos. You and I, we've learned here very often, we are in charge of how the infinite power of the light of the Creator that's in our soul, how it will manifest in our lives, because we're the ones wielding that power. The Creator gave us free will, and so how we use it will determine how it shows up in our life. So in the same way, you can't just take a live electrical wire and just wave it around to have the results you may want. You have to hook it up to make your vacuum cleaner work, or heaven forbid, but a person could take that live wire, touch somebody or touch themselves, and get a pretty big shock. And some pain along with it. It's how we use the power. It's not the power itself. Obviously, the light of the Creator is only good, but we've been given the free will to use it the way we want temporarily. So the Kabbalists have given us the methodology, let's maybe call it that, the methodology, the steps, how to access the light of our soul and how to properly, meaning of great advantage, blessing, benefit, emanate it from our soul into our world, into our life, to bring us great blessings. Whether it's health, peace, love, prosperity, protection, solutions, clarity, calm in the midst of challenges and stressful situations, things like that. So there's a technology. Now, you take out the consciousness, what's called the kavanah, which comes from the word kivun, to direct. In other words, if you're taking a flashlight to see something in a dark room, you can turn it on, but if you don't direct it where you want to illuminate the darkness, then you won't see what you're trying to find. You have to direct the light in the direction of the object you're looking for or the place you want the illumination. So too, when we're using our soul's energy, which we're doing all the time, and that's why there's so much chaos in the world, because people don't have consciousness that they are using the infinite power of the light of the Creator inside them, which is the power of creation and therefore creating their world. So chaotic thoughts create actions that just use the light to create chaos. You and I are learning how to use the light in a conscious way that's beneficial, that brings us the greatest blessings. And therefore you take out that consciousness, but keep, let's call it the ritual, the actions, in simple terms. And again, please don't be offended. I'm not trying to be offensive. I want us to be conscious. Take away that consciousness, but do the actions is essentially what religions are. They're doing actions because that's what they believe God, whatever framework of God is in their religion, told them to do. Then you have spirituality. And this is perhaps why people say, oh, they're not religious or don't want to be religious, but they're spiritual. Because they don't want to feel that they have to follow rules to have whatever the blessings or be okay with the Creator, whatever. So they believe that they can be okay with the Creator, the universe, by essentially whatever form they want, whether it's just simply, meditating at the beach or closing their eyes and feeling vibration or something around there, or what have you. But essentially what you've got is an intent to be good people, to connect with the universe, the creative force, what have you. But what it actually comes out with is let's call it spiritual anarchy. Meaning there's no system to it. Everybody can do what they want, but expect that they'll get the results they're looking for. So now we have at least this fundamental idea of spiritual and religion. Now, what Kabbalah is teaching us is how to unite the two. And even in its fundamental terms, we say the physical world is the 1%, the spiritual world is the 99%. So if we want 100%, we're going to bring the two together. How to live from the soul, the spirit, in the physical material world, but letting the spiritual, the 99%, be our guide, be our GPS, if you will. So we're breaking the barrier or that divide between spirituality and religion by actually uniting the essence of them, by adding back the consciousness of the technology of the soul. So when we teach Kabbalah 1, that's why the Rav and Karen designed Kabbalah 1 to be sort of the big picture. How we came out of the endless world, therefore knowing what life is about and understanding the technology of this world, and probably most powerfully is the awakening of awareness that we are constantly, with every word, thought, and action, we are creating our lives. And therefore, when a person looks at their life and doesn't like all the aspects of it, they see chaos, confusion, they see darkness and challenges or what have you, it's not easy, yet it's the most powerful thing we can do is to take responsibility and acknowledge, I must have been operating unconsciously and therefore unconsciously created this chaos in my life. Because once a person can acknowledge that and take responsibility and understand there is exact cause and effect, and the creative power of their life is inside them, and then they learn what we're teaching in the center, the methodology, the technology of the soul, then it's easier, not easy, but easier to start transforming our thoughts, words, and actions to be in alignment with our mission here in this world, which is ultimately to have peace in the world, heaven on earth. Easier to get there because we now can understand what mistakes we've made in the past, where we didn't understand the technology of the soul, and therefore operated with the help of that opponent in our head, which we created, as everything in this world is our creation. We created it to actually be a safety net, that if a person were falling into too much unconsciousness, that opponent would come along and keep nagging or prodding or sort of sticking, almost like with a pin, if you will, that us to wake us up to realize eventually that we're making the wrong choices. Because life is only about choices, choosing the path of the light, technology of the soul, or choosing the path of the physical material world and all of its entropy energy, meaning destructive, disintegrative, falling apart energy, which is what science tells us the physical world is made of. All right? It is entropy. It's ruled by falling apart. The spiritual realm, 99%, is ruled by the light of the Creator, which is eternal bliss, peace, harmony, order, clarity, etc. So then what you and I are learning here is how to stay consciously connected to the light of the Creator, how to emanate it from our soul everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. Because as we said, trying to live life without consciousness, without the consciousness of this technology, becomes religion. And trying to be metaphysical without technology becomes that spiritual anarchy. So we want to understand, and that's what the center's teaching us, how to bring together the two, how to live your business, how to deal with your family, how to go out, drive down the street, how to travel, how to go on vacation, how to go shopping, using your soul's energy. And that's the real key. So the basis is the same. If you look at, because over the years, people have always said, well, Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. So if they're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, they don't need Kabbalah. They need to use what they believe are the rules of the universe of their God. But the Kabbalists have explained to us, Kabbalah and the Zohar is just the blueprint of the universe. And so if you'll stand back, you'll start to see very many things in common. And I just made a couple of them, just so please understand it in this frame. Head covering, right? So those of you who are Catholic, you look at the Pope, you look at the bishops, they all have a head covering. In fact, it looks in various ways very similar to this, which, the Jews call a yarmulke, kippah. Muslims also have a head covering. In the Far East, Hindu things like that, they also have a head covering. There may be somewhat different form of the head covering, but it's all a head covering, because Kabbalists are teaching us, as those of you who understand what they call chakras, there's a spiritual energy comes out of the universe, comes through the top of the head. So without all the details, having a head covering helps us, when you have the consciousness, maintain all the transformation, the energy that you draw through your work of consciousness. I want to try and stay away from a little bit of the spiritual or religion words, let's call it. So there's, that similarity across the board. So yeah, you call it a different name. And I don't know what all the other names are, but the Jews call this the kippah. I don't know how the Catholics call it, or the Muslims, whatever, but you understand the idea. It's all a head covering. It's all a head covering. Praying before eating. I mean, it's pretty much part of every religion. Some form of praying, meditating, etc. The Kabbalists teach us that the purpose of it, to quote, bless the food, is not to thank the Creator. And this also may be new for some of you. We teach from Kabbalah 1 forward. Number one, we really can't grasp the Creator itself. So let's just meanwhile explain it as the emanator of light. But even let's stick to the light. The light is a force 100% sharing. There is no receiving in the light, which for us in this physical material world, the light is our source of eternal blessings, lasting fulfillment. So everything we're doing in this world is how to access the light of the Creator and then channel it through us into our lives. So the point of a blessing on food is not, again, to thank the Creator, because the Creator can't receive. So how could the Creator receive our thanks if it doesn't receive? The point of a blessing on food, even though in some languages the physical words may sound like, bless the Creator, but the Kabbalists teach us it's to access the light of the Creator that's inside the food we're about to eat. Because in the same way that we want to nourish the body with the food we eat, we want to nourish the soul with the light that's inside the food we eat. And therefore, the Kabbalists gave us, again, a technology to access the light. And then, as that opponent came along, and as we've said a few different ways this morning, to lose the consciousness and just do the ritual, so to speak, lost that consciousness. And so it's just become known as, okay, appreciating, thanking the Creator for the food you're about to eat. Okay, and therefore pretty much missing out on connecting to the light that's in that food. But again, the main reason I'm sharing this with you is that you'll see there's much more in common, even among what we call religions or spiritual teachings, than most of us really think about. And again, that's the function of the opponent. Create divisiveness, create confusion, take away clarity. Okay. So we've talked about it various times. We said it this morning in the beginning. There's only one soul and technically one body. Same technology, we're learning how to use it. And therefore, understanding though that the light inside of us also has different, if you will, frequencies called talents, abilities, languages, and the rest of it. But life itself is simply about taking the light inside of us, let it shine, flow out of us 24/7. 24/7. And so whether you're doctor, lawyer, plumber, I don't know, housewife, house husband, whatever you do, you are using your soul's energy 24/7 ideally towards that end. So it's not about what you do, let's say professionally or in life in that way. It's how you're operating on a spiritual level. Because the consciousness is the same, even though people have different languages and cultures or what have you. It's like, I thought of the idea like business. Simple terms, what is business? Providing product and service for revenue. So you watching, you have different types of products or services, but essentially it's the same. You sell a product or service for the revenue, and therefore you can pay your bills and go on vacation or whatever else it is. But there's different types of business. Even the Kabbalah Center, yes, we're nonprofit, but we have to operate, if you will, in, so to speak, that business sense. And I believe we offer the greatest products and service. How to remove pain, suffering, and death, not only from my life, your life, but from the world itself. And yes, we need, meanwhile, to do that for revenue. That's why, like many of you donate regularly to this program or to the center itself. One, you're accessing the technology of the center, so you're getting those blessings by helping the other 8 billion people on the planet. And we can speed up the process of the spread of the Zohar and this wisdom, that people will raise their consciousness, act more in alignment with the light of the Creator, and therefore bring more harmony, unity, peace to the world. And when we hit that critical mass of revealed light, then the world will shift. Like scales, which we'll talk about here in a couple minutes, they'll shift from being weighed down like this to weighed the opposite way. And the light will be the majority, the revealed light, and the world will just be on a quote unquote a downhill slide in a good way towards peace, harmony, and heaven on earth. Okay, now I want to give you an example because a number of people have asked me, since it is coming up in just a few days, but an example of how this operates. Just as you and I have a birthday, and that's the beginning of our individual year, and the Kabbalists teach us on that birthday, the cosmos is emanating 1 year's worth of energy, so that if a person on their birthday could open up, remove the blockages they've created through fear, anger, jealousy, greed, ego, and all of that, if they could remove some of those blockages, more of the year's light would flow through them, and they'd have a much better year. But there's also a birthday of humanity, and that's the first day of Libra. The Kabbalists teach us that on the first day of Libra, cosmic Libra, was the creation of that first human being that then split into Adam and Eve and all the rest of us. That's the first day of Libra. And so Libra, that day, which is called the head of the year, or in Hebrew, Rosh Hashanah, is not a Jewish New Year's. That's what the opponent made it, separate it out. So there's a Jewish New Year's, a Christian New Year's, a Muslim New Year's, a Chinese New Year. Everybody has their own New Year's. But like I often go back to, when the full moon is out there in the sky, you can't say that's the Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist full moon. It is a cosmic full moon. Now, people can believe on their own, in their own mind, that the day before, the day after, 2 days earlier, whatever, is the full moon. But the truth is, on the day of the full moon, that's the day of the full moon, and that's when the energy is manifest or shining into this world. So the Kabbalists teach us in these first days of cosmic Libra, and again, scales. Every human being, whether they realize it or not, are set on the scales. The good actions they've done in the year on one side and the negative actions on the other. And whichever way it weighs out, that's the pattern for the beginning of the year, like the seed for a year. So if it weighs out in the negative, that their negative actions are much more than the positive actions, then in essence their year starts behind, right? Like we say, in the red. So that means that if nothing changes during the year, they don't make that effort to change it, they're not going to have good life, because the first days are in essence health or life, relationships, and prosperity. all set in the seeds of those first 2 days. So the Kabbalists give us, one, that it's for every human being, which is why in the centers around the world, or those people who will be streaming with us, will be of all religions, all races, cultures, what have you, because they've come to understand it's cosmic New Year. And so on those 2 days, we are giving Kabbalistic technology how, while we are planting the seeds, if you will, that we can transform, if you will, some of the negative actions we've done into positive, and therefore put them on the side, take them off the side of the minus, put them on the side of the plus. That's the ability. But again, the opponent got in there, creating divisiveness. So unfortunately, the majority, I think, of the world who are not Jewish considered a Jewish New Year, so it's not for them. But they're also being weighed and balanced on the scales of Libra. And you look at the world, if the world were at peace, then I could understand how you could really say, I don't believe what you're saying. But when you look around the world and you see the tremendous, intense chaos, divisiveness, discord, it fits the pattern. And for me, that's what's been the most powerful part of all of this. Yes, I've had my personal transformations and seen miracles and helped students have miracles and transformation, all of that. But for me, what gives me a greater sense, on the one hand, of peace and calm as I deal with the chaos of the world, is the fact I see the pattern. I know how it works because I've learned enough of the Zohar. I've understood this system, so I can see, yeah, it is following the system. So since there is a system, like we said, even individually, if all our words, thoughts, and actions are creating our life, and we see there's areas of our life that are chaotic, then all we have to do is use our power of creation to put them all back in place, to bring them back to the original harmony and order, because the Creator is only perfection, the original creation of us as a soul, perfection. And so even though this world temporarily looks like it's chaotic, there is a inherent underlying perfection that we can bring the world back to. And in fact, that's the only reason we left the endless world, was to bring this world into a copy, if you will, of the quote heaven above in what we call heaven on earth. And that's it. So now coming, for those of you who will make the connection, some of you asked me, so what do we think about, what do we do on these 2 days of the Rosh Hashanah, the first 2 days of cosmic Libra? So it's just to understand, one, between now and then, we want to make all the effort possible to transform, to do our tikkun, we call it in the center, Kabbalistically, to do our transformation of all our negative actions, whether it's what we did to others or holding the resentment, the anger, the hatred, animosity towards people that did things to us. Because anytime we hold those blockages, then the light of the Creator cannot flow through us. And the light not being able to flow through a person means that the light doesn't take away the darkness in their life. And it doesn't become the guiding force in their life. So the more we remove the blockages, first and foremost, advantage to me. Because if I'm shining more of my light, channeling it through me, my life is clearer. I'm more blessed. I have more awareness, consciousness, and strength to turn all the chaos back to order, to turn the disorder back to order. And so that's one. And then on those 2 days, with what most people consider prayer, we understand it as a technology to make connection to the light of the Creator. Because what the Kabbalists tell us, on those 2 days, it's as if the vault, the storehouse of the light of perfection is open, or like the Rav used to call it, if the bank vault were open and everybody could go in and get whatever they wanted in those 48 hours, how much of that time would you take, I don't know, going on vacation or, just sitting around doing nothing? No, you'd want to go in and gather as much as you can. So we have that opportunity, and the Kabbalists gave us the way to access more and more of that storehouse. Then there's also this thing called the ram's horn, shofar. And if you talk to your teachers, or if you look, in your Zohar, The Zohar says that the sound of the shofar, when you know the sound, when you know how to direct it, not just hear it, but know how to direct it, can actually break through what it literally calls the impossible blockages that we have, like sound vibration. Today we know that certain frequencies of sound can shatter glass. We know that ultrasound has been used to break up kidney stones and gallstones and things like that instead of surgery. So the Kabbalists gave us the original ultrasound, the shofar, the ram's horn, to break up the shells of anger, hurt, greed, jealousy, ego, fear, all of that. And so that's the technology. So Michael Berg just was telling us in his class on Rosh Hashanah preparation, he says what to meditate on when you're hearing the shofar, especially if you're newer. Because technically there's a lot of detailed meditations that you can do, combinations of letters and energies and things like that. But he says fundamentally, you want to meditate at the sound of the shofar, that the Creator, and again, this is metaphorical, but that the Creator is breathing new life into us. It's almost as if, in a spiritual way, people have died or having, quote, like a heart attack, and you know how they, CPR and all of that. So we want to essentially meditate that the shofar, by breaking those blockages, those shells, is allowing the universe, metaphorically the Creator, to breathe new life in us. So we're on a higher level, a new awakening, a new revelation of the higher ideas of our soul than we've accessed up to this point. So we want to combine 1 in 99%. That's what life is about. We have the two. We have the physical body, we have the soul. It's you and I who decide which one controls us. And so, just in closing, and then we'll do our meditation. And I picked this one intentionally, all right, but we'll talk about it here in a moment. So the point of the Kabbalah Center is teaching us that it's not, whether it's religion or spirituality, hopefully you come to a greater awareness that there's no divide between them. They've both been created by misunderstanding, influenced by that opponent in our head. So either take away the technology and create religion by keeping the ritual, or take away the consciousness and take away a technology and people just want to feel that they're, connecting to the universe or whatever. We want to bring unity. And it's not about taking separate time. But what the Kabbalah Center is teaching us, it's about using the technology of your soul 24/7. When you go to work, channeling the light. When you're on the phone, channeling the light. When you're getting ready to go to bed, channeling the light. When you're having a meal, channeling the light. You're out with friends, channeling the light. You're driving on the street. Everything you do 24/7 to be channeling the light of God through you. In a similar way, we all do it anyway. Everything we do during the day, we're breathing. So we are, in essence, channeling air to keep us alive while you're at work, when you go to bed, when you're eating, when you're with friends, whatever. Even here, we're now in Spiritual Sunday. We're breathing. Yes, you're listening, hearing, awakening new parts of your ideas, thoughts, etc. Hopefully being inspired how to make changes in your life, but you're breathing all along. So we can also do the same. The difference is we have to be a little more conscious, especially in the beginning, to consciously be aware. I'm channeling the light. I'm driving down the street. I'm just shining light out of my heart and soul to everybody around me and out to the 8 billion people on the planet. I'm having dinner. I'm channeling the light. Yes, I want to meditate, draw the light out of the food. I'm channeling that out to 8 billion people on the planet. So we can do that like breathing, because when you're emanating the light 24/7 and it's being revealed in your life, that's when, for 24/7, you have peace, you have clarity, you have solutions to all your challenges, and all the blessings of heaven on earth are yours. God bless. Take a few minutes right now. There's nobody here physically, so we'll only do it, together online here. But I want to appreciate, I know many of you have actually started to make more recurring donations to the center in general or to Spiritual Sunday, which I appreciate, because again, it gives us, the more resources we have, the faster that we can make sure at least the Pocket Zohar goes out to as many people around the world as quickly as possible. And even if a person just has this in their purse, pocket, in their car, or whatever, it's like a sphere of protective light of the Creator. And as we constantly remind ourselves, light takes away darkness, nothing else will. So when you're carrying it with you in your pocket, purse, car, you put in your kids' backpacks, whatever, it's in your house, there's a sphere of light. And that light is not only protecting you from the darkness, but it's also awakening your soul, even if you want to call it, meanwhile, unconsciously. But as it's awakened, you start to have more of those intuitive thoughts that come to your head. Oh, don't forget to take the umbrella, or go this way, or do that thing, that later turns out to be the right thing and the protective thing and even the more blessed thing. So that's why we take this moment now to just do our meditation on the giving. So if you'll just join me for a moment. Just have the consciousness of appreciating what you've learned here and therefore wanting to give back to pay it forward. So we are injecting consciousness of gratitude, of love, of light into this offering, into the gift, into your donation, appreciation for the talents and abilities the Creator has given you to be able to do what you do, to have these resources, to understand and have appreciation for the wisdom that what you put into the world exactly comes back to you. And therefore having now a higher consciousness of how to put more of your soul's light out into the world, overcoming and breaking through whatever blockages may have been unto this world up to this moment. Fear, anger, resentment, guilt, shame. But break those walls with the light of the Creator, extending it out of your soul. And therefore, by supporting the various projects of the center, speeding up that process of breaking down the walls between people, breaking down the walls between each individual and their pure and perfect light beingness that the Creator implanted inside them. And as we break those walls, uniting people back to the one heart, the one soul, and the one being. And therefore knowing that the greater effort we make to share, the greater effort the universe makes to bring back blessings of all forms, in all ways, for all our good. And together we say, Amen. And so I want to take a few minutes, as we do. For those of you unfamiliar, yes, these look like Hebrew letters or Aramaic letters, but they are actually photons or particles of the light of the Creator. This is the DNA of our soul. Our soul is made of light. The light, when it comes into the physical world, takes on 22 unique forms, which are the 22 Hebrew letters, which means it's not about language. It's about the energy that shines out or through each one of these forms. So in this case, Aleph, Vav, Mem. But I picked this one. It connects us. It's one of the 72 names of God, which are 72 three energy force combinations, but they activate different functions in our soul. Like people take different vitamins to activate different physiological processes, so too the different combinations of the frequencies of the light of the Creator activate different spiritual functions within us. This one is called creating bridges. And interestingly enough, any of you who may know Hebrew, if you tried to sound this out, you could say Om. And many of you know that in the Eastern teachings, Om is the sound of the universe. So again, to show you the compatibility, the unity, that from the blueprint of the Zohar comes everything, whether you want to call it the essence of every religion, spiritual technology, and for many of us, most surprisingly, chemistry, physics, medical science, also explained in the Zohar. So let's just let the light shine out of these. Aleph, Vav, Mem. Just let your eyes run across them so that you can keep as best you can the shapes in your mind's eye. Aleph, Vav, Mem. And now I ask you to sit comfortably in your seat, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. Relax. Relax into the seat. Breathing in a circulatory manner, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through the mouth. Because the Kabbalists teach us in air, as with everything in the physical world, is the light of the Creator. This is why the Bible says, and God breathed into us the breath of life. Because it has very powerful light force in it. So let it circulate. Take the breath through your nose. Hold it for a moment, that it infuses light from head to toe. And then exhale through your mouth to let go of the blockages, the stress, aspects of fear, anger, jealousy, whatever may not be true light energy. Relaxing into the seat, letting go extraneous thoughts, focusing on the light in your breath. Becoming more and more aware of the vibration of unconditional love, which is the light of the Creator, inside you and all around you. Allow yourself to feel the embrace and the warmth of this infinite light that has always been in and around you, that you now have greater awareness, a greater consciousness and appreciation for, and a greater sense of it. Feeling the embrace, feeling the warmth, feeling its power. And so let's envision just above our heads, Aleph, Vav, Mem. These three energy forces, portals, channels of the infinite light of the Creator from the endless world into our world. See them shining, vibrating, glowing, with the pure white light of the endless, of the Creator. And let's slowly allow the Aleph Vav Mem, as you see it now, shining bright, channeling the infinite light of the Creator, of unconditional love. Allow it to enter through the top of your head. Allow it to activate the DNA of the Creator that's inside you, from head to toe. Allow it to glow, radiate, expand inside you. That from head to toe, the Aleph Vav Mem, in every spiritual and therefore physical cell of your being, is activated on a higher level. More intensity of bonding the light of the Creator with your physical material body. So that every cell functioning on a higher level of perfection as they were meant to function. And together we let the Aleph Vav Mem settle in our heart, in our soul. Now beaming a light of this Aleph Vav Mem, beautiful, intense beam of light out from our heart and soul. Let it extend out to the heart and soul of all our family and friends. See it awakening a greater sense of unity, bonding the light and the physical material of all those people, of all their lives, that the light is guiding all their words, thoughts, and actions on a higher level, that there's an awakening, a greater awareness of the power of the light inside them. And now shine out that beam through them to the heart and soul of all 8 billion people on the planet. Aleph Vav Mem. Building bridges between all people, removing the blockages, joining us all together as one soul, one body of humanity. Aleph Vav Mem, flowing through that entirety of the one being. Peace, harmony, love, unity. Did we envision everybody at peace, smiling, looking at each other, heart to heart, soul to soul? Seeing through the physical seeing the spiritual, the pure light being in each body. Connecting to the one and only common factor in every person on earth, the soul. And shifting our consciousness to a higher level of true certainty and knowingness that as we are channeling the light more and more, greater intensity, consciousness of love and unity, we are creating a peace, a harmony, a bonding between all people, allowing the soul to be the guiding force, activating that pure system within each person. That everybody will see and feel the blessings, the actions of greater love, kindness, and compassion towards all people. Let's strengthen our unity between this group right now, that the light we're sending out multiplies exponentially, and the impact increasing exponentially. That our unity, speeding up the process of bringing the light to completely dispel all darkness, all discord, all separation between people. Commit yourself to channel this light, to hold this consciousness, to accept heart and soul that you are a pure and perfect being of light, and that as you channel that light, you have the power to impact the world, to bring order out of chaos and light out of darkness. Whatever insight, revelation, inspiration you've received, allow it to be recorded in your heart and your mind, that it stays with you. And this vision, this vibration of pure unity, heaven on earth, Aleph Vav Mem, bringing us all back to the original unity. Engrave it in your heart, your soul, and your mind now. We'll take one more deep breath to lock it in. And slowly exhale and open your eyes. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. Let's just be beacons of light. And just our group, we're enough now that as we unite and we channel that light, according to the Kabbalists, we have enough power to change the planet. The more we do, the faster we bring more into this wisdom, and we will see peace and harmony in our time. God bless. Have an amazing week. God bless. Have an amazing day. Have a great week. And then may we all be, as it's generally said, be written in the book of life for a year of amazing, amazing happiness, peace, joy, all the blessings. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.